Hi. So I'm putting together this video for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to give my review of a couple popular piano learning platforms, the good things about them, the things I didn't like as much, and ultimately the reasons why I left those platforms. And I also kind of wanted to give a rough outline of maybe my opinion of what you should do as an adult learner of piano or a way to go about learning. But ultimately, everyone's way of learning the piano is going to be different. So this is just my opinion, but maybe it'll help someone out because going online and typing into Google, how do I learn piano as an adult? You're gonna get thousands and thousands of responses and resources. So maybe giving my personal experience will help someone out. So here we are. So, a little bit of background on me. I learned piano as a kid for a few months, gave it up, came out to live in Japan, picked it up again, studied for about a year, gave it up. And now I'm at a year and a few months of using online platforms and things, and I'm a lot more motivated to keep playing and studying the piano. My goals as a student were basically I really like video game music and I love their soundtracks, so I wanted to play like Final Fantasy themes and Chrono Trigger and all that kind of stuff. So just a basic overall piano education was what I was looking for, and how to read sheet music and stuff like that. I would consider myself now a confident beginner. I'm definitely not an intermediate. Like I can belt out some songs, like people know this one. Like I can play a version of that, but if you really look into the music itself, it's not super difficult. But I would say I'm a confident beginner. I'm confident that I can look at whatever sheet music I get and make something out of it. So when getting into learning the piano online, there's kind of two ways to do it. One of them is using, I think, synesthesia or something where you see the notes coming down on the screen, and you play the notes along with that. Or you can use something kind of gamified like melodics. That's one way to go about it, but I wasn't super interested in that because I felt even if you got good at that, you're mostly just getting good at like that game. In long term, it might be a little bit more difficult to pick up like actual piano habits. So I didn't go that route. I went a different one. But looking at other platforms, like the more normal platforms, there's basically two types of piano platforms. One is where you connect your computer to your piano, like through USB or whatever, a MIDI port or something. And as you play the piano, the computer registers the notes and it can show you on like the score, are you actually hitting the correct note and stuff like that. So kind of like an application focused platform. And then the other is usually more video focused platforms. Now there's some that are they're kind of all hybrids of that, where even the ones that have the application, they'll have some videos. But the video based platforms are a lot more maybe focused on the educational aspect of piano, like the theory and stuff like that, while as the application ones, they're focused more on just hitting the correct notes. So I found this really nice website that listed a bunch of the popular learning platforms, and I kind of judged them and I looked over on myself, and ultimately I landed on a couple of them. Now, when you look through it yourself, you may come to different conclusions than me. But again, everyone learns differently. So, as I said, I'm here just to kind of offer my review of the applications that I used, and hopefully that'll help. So, if you're just starting out learning the piano, it would be my suggestion that you start with an application that connects your piano to the computer. It's really helpful to have that application checking you as you hit the keys that you are hitting the correct ones, because the beginning is really tough, and I found it really helpful to have that thing to check me, to show that I'm playing it the correct way, or if I play through the song, it'll judge me on how well I did it. Now, some people are not super interested in reading sheet music, and that's what all those applications really focus on, and that's fine. But my suggestion is, if because once you finish these programs and you get some sheet music that you want to play a song from, you're going to need to be able to read it and go through it yourself. So it is my suggestion that if you're just starting piano, you should pick up one of the ones that have the application with it. So with that in mind, I went with initially Playground Sessions. Playground Sessions, it's apparently it has a really popular pianist, Rodney Downey Jr. That's not it. So when I started, I actually started with something called Playground Sessions. It's really well put together. The videos are really nice, really professional setup. But there was a problem. I didn't make it. I don't think I made it past the trial period. 'Cause most of these programs, they give you like a week or a month or whatever to try it out. I didn't get past the trial period because of their sheet music and the way that it was set up. And I'm going to show it up on screen. If you look at the sheet music, each key had a number written above it. Now, that's called the numbering or the fingering, and it's telling you what finger you should use to play the note. And that's really useful in maybe a more difficult song, or when the keys are getting kind of difficult. It can be really helpful to understand what the author thinks you should be using for a fingering. But the problem is, for a beginner, if you see the sheet music with all these numbers on it, you're not really going to look at the sheet music or where the notes are. You're just going to look at the numbers and go, oh, 4. Okay, so that's 4, 4, 5, 5, 1, 1. You're just going to be thinking that. And that makes it more difficult to really pick up reading the sheet music. It becomes kind of more of a game of just your fingers. So initially, while I really liked the presentation, I gave up on them, and I ended up moving ultimately to Piano Marvel. Now, Piano Marvel, I stayed with them for a good 7 or 8 months or so. The way that Piano Marvel is set up, you can go to the website and take a look for yourself, but they basically have 2 sections, one for learning songs and one for learning more technique or methodology for playing the piano, like learning scales or learning chords and stuff like that. So their sheet music, they didn't have the numbering problem. They would have numbers for the fingers when it was appropriate, but not all of the notes had it. And that really helped me to learn how to read sheet music more quickly. I mean, I'd learned it before, but I'd forgotten everything at this point. I knew what middle C looked like. I knew maybe the C scale up to G, but I couldn't remember the treble clef, or the bass clef, excuse me. So this really helped me to relearn everything. So some of the good points about Piano Marvel is I think the difficulty was appropriate for all the separate levels. It didn't ramp up too quickly, although the methodology or technique portion was a little bit difficult in places because it'd have you jump in between chords really quickly. But otherwise, it was pretty good. They also have a huge song selection, and for various levels, like lots of beginner songs. The problem there being that a lot of the songs are not particularly popular. A lot of gospel type songs or church songs or just kind of public domain songs and stuff like that. So, I mean, if you're okay with that, that's fine. You're not going to be finding, current pop songs or, Disney songs. There are some, but the selection was fairly limited. But overall, as a platform, I found it really useful up until about the 4th or 5th level. And that's where the major flaw in Piano Marvel became obvious. And it was that Piano Marvel basically expects you to have a teacher. A lot of their documentation kind of talks about how it expects you to have a teacher, or how it tries to help you find a teacher. But the problem is, and this is kind of the same problem I had with taking lessons from a Japanese teacher out here so many years ago, is that you would be playing these songs, but you really didn't know why or what the theory is behind these things. Like, we all know what a chord is, but what's a chord progression? Or, you're looking at your sheet music and you see these letters and things above the measure, and you're like, what are those? What are those useful for? And it all became really stifling and just kind of, why am I doing this? Like, I know I'm playing these songs, but am I really making progress? And I think probably a lot of people go through similar feelings of just, why am I learning these songs? Why am I doing this? I want to get better, but is this really helping me? And you get a lot of self-doubt and stuff like that. And that's what I started to feel. And I started looking around at other things. Now, I watched a lot of reviews of all the different platforms, and I remember seeing one for a platform where you didn't connect your piano to the PC, and it was all just videos. And I wrote it off initially because I really wanted that application to help me get the feeling again for how to play the piano. But I remember this reviewer talking about it. And if I could find it, I'm going to link it below. But he talked about how the other platform, Pianote, now Musora, I think, or Musora is the parent company, and Pianote is just the piano portion of it. But how piano was really more focused on the music and not just rote learning, not just learn to play the song, go to the next song, learn that song, go to the next song. This piano wasn't about that. It was more about learning the structure of the music and learning how to think musically. So I gave it another look and decided to leave Piano Marvel and then join Pianote. And I joined Pianote for about 6 months. That would put me over about a year of learning. And I really liked it. Pianote is very good in specific areas. The lessons are all videos, and most of them are taught by Lisa, who has a lot of enthusiasm. She's always happy. She teaches concepts in really clear, easy ways. She's just a joy to watch and listen to. So some of the good things about Pianote is I got the feeling that they really cared about music, and they really cared about you learning music. Not you learning how to play this specific song, but how to appreciate music and the building blocks of music. One of the interesting things about piano is it starts out not with reading sheet music, but just playing chords. Playing the C chord, playing the G chord, stuff like that. And it kind of goes right immediately into chord progressions. Now, chord progressions, I've heard that so many times, just learning music in general. I get this chord progression, that chord progression, this chord progression. I had no idea what it was. But in piano, they actually take the time to explain it. And you'll see these videos online, learn 500 songs in 1 hour or whatever. But what they're talking about is they're learning the chord progressions. Because, we'll take the most basic chord progression that they teach right off the bat, something like this. So something like that is a Beatles song. It's the 1, 1, 5, 6, 4. That chord progression. And you play that and you learn that from piano and you play it along with some backing tracks, and it's really impactful that with just this simple movement, you're playing one of the most famous songs ever. And it's at least for me, I got really emotional about it because it sounded great. And that really sold me on piano being a good platform, because I wasn't just learning play the song, now play the next one. I was learning, this is how music is put together. And it also gave me the confidence to play around with music. Like improvisation and stuff like that is a big thing early on in the course. It's like, the music may say this, but why don't you play like this? Or, add a little bit of that, or, put your own spin on things. So now, as I play music now, I'll look at something and I'll say, hey, I know what that is. Maybe I'll just make that chord out of that. Or I'll harmonize it. Or it gave me the confidence again to just be myself at the piano and to change things as I see fit. I can make it easier if I want, but knowing that the harmony or the melody is this, I know if this chord is too difficult or if this movement's too difficult, I can just make it easier and it's still going to sound great. So I really liked Pianote for that. Another good part of Pianote is it introduces you to a bunch of different styles. You start off with pop music right at the beginning. They recently added a classical course. You do learn some of the older stuff, by Bach and all that kind of stuff. And you also do a bit of jazz too. That was a lot of fun. I'm not a huge jazz person myself, but some of those chords, they sounded pretty funky and I kind of liked them. So it does a good job of introducing to a lot of different kinds of music. Another cool thing is they do have an active community. They have forums and stuff like that and an unofficial Discord. But you can get a response pretty quickly from other people or from teachers. Most of the videos have a thriving comment section, people giving their advice or their questions. And the teachers are pretty good. If not the teacher herself, other kind of piano staff are really good about reaching out and answering your questions and stuff like that. It's not like a dead community like the other Piano Marvel or whatever. They had a community, I think, but there's nobody ever talking. And it's really nice to see a thriving community. So I've given all this praise to Pianote. So, one might be wondering, well, why did you ultimately decide to leave? So with Pianote, their main educational path is called the method, and they supplement the method with other things like courses or video series. But the method is their bread and butter. It's cut in a bunch of different sections, and each section has a number of lessons, and each lesson has a number of videos. It's really in depth, and I really enjoyed it. That's where I learned a lot. The problem is once you finish the method, the rest of their material, like mini courses and stuff like that, is about on par as anything you'll find on YouTube. So going to an online platform like this and paying money, you're doing it because you want more than just the random results you're going to get on YouTube. You want something a little bit more curated, or something with more of like a set structure of what you should be doing, as opposed to just the random stuff you're going to get from YouTube. But the problem is, my opinion of the supplemental material at Pianote is it was really just on the level of YouTube videos. For example, I started taking a lesson about arranging songs, because that's something I really wanted to do. You know, you take a famous song and you put your own little spin on it, basically a cover. And the lesson started off really good, talking about, okay, well, we're going to be making an arrangement of canon and D. So here's, the basic canon and D. Here's the basic melody. Now, here's the chords, but here's other ways we could play the chords. We could use different time signatures and stuff like that. But then when it got into the actual arranging of the melody, all that the video series did was show the teacher's arrangement, and she kind of explained what she did, but not why she did it. And that seemed kind of like a waste of an opportunity. Like, if you're arranging your first song, you kind of need your handheld to go over what you can do, what you can't do. She talked about, I added some passing notes here. Well, how many passing notes can I put in? If it's all passing notes, or if I change everything, is it still an arrangement or a cover? Where's that line, or how do I find things that sound good, and blah, 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 blah. And this is something that I could have found on YouTube, and you can find it pretty easily on YouTube, actually. So I expected more of a hand-holding, curated lesson. And this was the same for a bunch of different lessons, like cocktail piano. Here's how to learn how to play cocktail piano. Well, they would give you a cocktail piano scale. Okay. They would give you some chords, and they give you a basic melody. You do that, and they're like, okay, go experiment. Is there no more to it? I mean, if there's no more to learning cocktail piano, then again, I should just go to YouTube. But if there is more to learning cocktail piano, I would expect this platform where I'm paying money to teach it to me. So that was a fairly large negative for Pianote. Another smaller gripe was that the song list is a bit small, but they do have a lot more like pop songs and popular songs and easy arrangements of them. So if you're not looking to just play classical stuff, you'll find a lot more to play there. Like, they have Nirvana's Heart-Shaped Box. That was a really fun one that I liked. And then River Runs in You, or whatever. I learned that from there as well. So a lot better, a lot higher quality music selection, in my opinion. Just not as much as maybe other platforms. And finally, they talk a lot about how they have a lot of teacher-student interaction with like teacher reviews and stuff. I had my piano videos reviewed by a teacher, and they gave me their comments. Those were okay. The advice they offer was not super helpful, but again, it's kind of hard to offer advice to someone that you see for the 2 or 3 minutes that they're playing a song. You don't really have any history with them. Like, it's not a real teacher-student interaction. Like, they can point out obvious things they're doing, like, you're using the pedal too much. Okay, thanks. But they can't really give you specific advice to help you. They can kind of give you overall advice. So while it's useful, it's maybe not as useful as it could be, I guess. But the teachers are all very nice. They're all very professional. I would love to go out for a drink with any of them, but as a platform, or as a service that I'm paying money for, I didn't see as much merit to it as I would have liked. So that's why I've left Pianote. Actually, my subscription should be ending either today or tomorrow. Overall, I think it is a very good platform. If you're interested in music and not just the rote learning, it's a great place to go. And really, in fact, any adult learner, I would suggest first learning that kind of sheet music way of doing things. Just get the feeling of the keys under your fingers, learn those basics, and then when you start feeling like, okay, well, why am I doing this song? Like, I'm learning songs, but I don't feel any different. Like, if that feeling comes to you, then I would really suggest going to something like Pianote. and specifically Pianote, because since their platform doesn't have the application to rely on, they put a lot of emphasis on those videos and really connecting to you and teaching you these big concepts. So if you start feeling like, why am I learning this, I would really suggest Pianote. It is a good platform, and while, in my opinion, after you finish the method, the merits of the platform kind of start to dwindle, it is very good for what it does. And I am extremely grateful to them for my confidence that I now have at the keyboard. I feel like I'm still the beginner, but I can make progress. And while some sheet music may look really intimidating, I can change it to how I want to do it. I can read a lead sheet. I can make my own stuff. It really has been a life-changing experience. I'm now more enthusiastic about playing the piano. I don't feel like I'm just rote learning whatever's on the page. I feel like I'm playing music because I know how to play with it. So that's been my experience. Hopefully you'll find some kind of useful information out of this. I know coming at piano as an adult, it can be a difficult experience with so much information out there. But hopefully through what I've gone through, if you've kind of felt the same, hopefully it'll lead you in a direction for you to learn the piano in a way that's best for you. Good luck.